Morning, gents. This is Mr. Holding, and this quick video is just looking at how to do your scientific diagram or labelled scientific diagram and how you go about doing it. So first of all, it's important to understand the difference between a diagram or a graph and a table. Okay, so a table is what we put our results into. Okay, and I'll do a video on that later because you need to do that. Whereas a graph or a picture, and we're going to do a picture or a diagram in this instance, is referred to as a figure. Okay, and because this is going to be the first figure in our report, we call it Figure 1, and then we have to give it a title. Okay, so I'm not going to give you that, but you need to come up with a title for your particular diagram. Have a look, make sure it's in context, and it's important to note that the title for a figure goes underneath it. Okay, so if you were to do a graph and it was Figure 1 and a title, you put it underneath the graph. If you do a scientific diagram, you call it Figure whatever and you put it underneath. Okay, a table actually goes at the top. It would go here. Okay, but figures, they go on the bottom here. Okay, so that's the first thing that we need to know. So the next thing we need to do is we need to do our scientific diagram. Okay, so it's not a piece of art. That's the first thing to remember. So, you know, making it all glamorous with lots of colours and all that kind of stuff and filling the whole thing, that's not what we're after. Okay, what we're after is actually coming up with a very clear picture so that somebody who's wants to repeat your experiment can look at it and use it to set it up. Okay, so it's in pencil, you need to make it neat and tidy, use a ruler where possible and draw it. So in this instance, I'm going to do a scientific diagram of Mr. Holding's highlighter, okay, and then go about labeling it. Okay, so I'm going to go on neatly using pen and a ruler. I'm going to draw a copy of that highlighter. So I've gone ahead and done my done my scientific diagram here, and I've done it as accurate as I can. Now I've used the space provided as best I can. Okay, there's no point putting a little diagram down the bottom here or doing it so big that it takes up a ridiculous amount. It's in the middle, it takes up a reasonable amount of size, and it leaves me space now to label it. Okay, so I might turn around and look here and go, what are the key parts of this highlighter? Alright, so I'll put my highlighter there, and go, what do I need to identify? Okay, what would someone need to know to be able to use this highlighter? Okay, so the first thing I might do is I might highlight, again, neatly, yellow cap. Okay, so I might identify the cap. Down the bottom here, and I'll probably draw this line in here too well, okay, because you can see there's a line there. That's a cap, the cap holder. Okay, I'm going through identifying the bits and pieces of this piece of equipment or this experiment that are important. Okay, I might write down here the pen brand's name. Okay, and I'm doing it clearly and I'm doing it neatly. All right, now you guys are going to be doing one on the solubility prac. Okay, so you need to be looking at going, what do you need to show? So you've got a test tube holder. You've got multiple test tubes. In each of them, you've got a different sample. So you'd want to list, okay, test tube 1, flour, test tube 2, salt, test tube 3, sugar. All those kind of things you need to draw. There might be a little solid in the bottom of the test tube, so you might do a little squiggle and go solid. Okay, so the reason being is you want to be able to show that diagram to someone who's going to repeat your experiment and then go, oh, that's how I set it up. Okay, so very clearly as you can. I do it as neat as I can. Use up the space, you know, reasonably. You just want to have some space around it so it's neat and tidy. All right, but you don't want, as I said before, you don't want this tiny little picture down in the bottom corner. Okay, as you saw, I've done my, I've created my title here. Figure 1, Mr. Holding's highlighter. Okay. Again, you need to make that up. Make sure it's applicable. In this case, it is because this is my highlighter. That's the title of the figure. Again, you don't need to colour this in. All right, you just need to do it neatly and be able to represent what's going on. Remember earlier in the term we did those scientific diagrams, and you may want to use those. You should probably use those so that you're consistent with the way that you draw things. And again, just keep in mind, this is not about being the greatest artist in the class. It's being able to represent a picture of something and label it. And that's the other important thing, is to label it appropriately, and overall the whole thing is neat and tidy. Okay, I hope you found this helpful.